The Federal High Court in Ilorin has sentenced the convicted armed robbers responsible for the infamous Offa bank robbery on April 5, 2018 to death by hanging. This verdict has been met with widespread approval from Nigerians who viewed it as a step towards justice for the victims and their families. The public calls on the nation's justice sector to expedite the resolution of pending cases, emphasizing that timely justice is essential for healing and closure. The news report highlights a significant legal outcome in Nigeria, where a federal high court in Ilorin sentenced 5 convicted armed robbers to death by hanging. These individuals were involved in a high-profile bank robbery in the quiet town of Offa, Kwara State, on April 5, 2018. The robbery shocked the nation due to their brazenness of the attack, which resulted in the death of 32 people, including 9 policemen. The case, which spanned 6 years, was brought to conclusion by Justice Halima Salma, who ruled that the evidence presented by the prosecution was sufficient to prove the suspect guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. The judgment was based on the crime of armed robbery, murder, and unlawful possessions of firearms, offenses that carry the death penalty in Nigeria. One suspect had already died in custody, leaving 5 to face the ultimate sentence. While the prosecution praised the judgment as thorough and just, the defense announced plan to appeal, asserting that an automatic appeal would follow in case involving capital punishment. Despite this, many Nigerians, including residents of Abuja, lauded the court decision, seeing it as justice served. However, they criticized the length of time it took to conclude the case, calling for reforms in Nigerian judiciary to expedite future trials. The robbery, which left many dead and shocked the nation, underscored the need for swift justice. The families of the victims, including the policemen killed during the incident, are now one step closer to closure, although the upcoming appeal processes may further delay a final resolution. While the death sentence is a controversial topic, especially given the delay in justice, many Nigerians view the court decision as a necessary step towards justice for the victims of this tragic event. I will play the video for you guys to watch and see for yourself.
Nigerians have lauded the judgment by the Federal High Court in Ilorin, which sentenced convicted armed robbers involved in the Offa bank robbery 6 years ago on April the 5th, 2018 to be precise. They also urged the nation's justice sector to speed up resolution of cases, saying this will help give victims and families affected closure. Amadine Uyi reports.
The daredevil of a bank robbery suspect arriving at the State High Court in Ilorin, Kwara State. The robbery case, which has spanned 6 years, shocked the quiet town of Offa, following the brazenness and audacity of the suspected robbers. The court was packed full as counsels were keen on the judgment, expected to be passed by Justice Halima Salman of the Kwara State High Court. After the judgment, the trial judge sentenced the 5 remaining suspects to death by hanging, as the last suspect had died in custody.
The judgment is not come by surprise to me. Of course, in line with the evidence that is in court and vis-a-vis the evidence of the prosecutions and what have you, and the evidence before the court, we envisage that definitely it's going to be like this. And most especially, this matter called for public interest.
6 years, slow but steady, and at the end of the day, His Lordship was able to conclude the trial today, and we all know what we proved and the evidence, the witnesses that testify. the exhibit we tendered, and from the totality of the evidence before the court, it shows clearly that the prosecution proved his case beyond reasonable doubt, and the judge accordingly gave judgment.
While the prosecution counsel commended the judge for a job well done, the defense counsel says the convicts will be appealing the judgment.
His Lordship saw that the prosecution has proved his case beyond reasonable doubt and then convicted them for those three major offenses: armed robbery, murder, that is culpable, punishable with death, and unlawful possession of firearm. So those are the three basic things. And apart from the conviction, the sentence was also pronounced, and the maximum sentence that the court can pronounce on those two capital offenses, the death, they carried death sentence by hanging. So that is the only pronouncement.
In line with AG or your state against Bilo, is an automatic appeal. It's an automatic appeal, and definitely it's going to stay. So I think it's one of those things that Mr. Emerybi have started doing, compiling the record and whatever, so that at least we move to the upstairs.
Some residents of Abuja, however, lauded the judgment despite criticizing the time taken.
In my opinion, it is just. Not just the fact that the crimes they committed were heinous enough, but in our jurisprudence in Nigeria, we still have the sentence, the maximum penalty for crimes like that, for capital punishment, as death. You understand? And in my opinion, justice has been served.
It is okay by the judgment, but it has been took long time. What we are supporting is what they call it, and the judiciary system. We need to start fast-tracking cases.
The incident, which occurred on April the 5th, 2018, left about 32 persons dead, including 9 policemen. Many will be hoping that the families of those killed can finally have closure.
The death sentence of 5 armed robbers convicted for their involvement in the infamous Offa bank robbery has reignited debate on crime, justice, and punishment in Nigeria. The news report presents a multifaceted perspective on the ruling and reflects the public's reaction, the judiciary handling of the case, and the broader implications for justice administration in Nigeria. This critical analysis will delve into the key theme raised by the report, the social and legal contents of the case, the death penalty role in Nigeria criminal justice system, the protracted nature of the legal process, and the implication for future cases. The Offa bank robbery, which occurred on April 5, 2018, was one of the most shocking and violent crimes in recent Nigerian history. The brazen attack left 32 people dead, including 9 police officers, and sent shockwaves through the quiet town of Offa in Kwara State. The robbers targeted multiple banks in the area, using sophisticated firearms to overpower the local police force and terrorize civilians. This crime is a grim reflection of the growing incidence of armed robberies in Nigeria, exacerbated by the easy access to illegal firearms, systemic corruption, and a weak security apparatus. The scale of the crime and its devastating impact on the local community ensured that the trial would attract widespread attention. The public demand for justice was palpable, with many Nigerians calling for the harshest possible punishment for the culprit. Against this backdrop, the judiciary proceedings began, ultimately culminating in the death sentence for 5 of the convicted robbers. The judicial process that followed the Offa bank robbery exemplifies both the strengths and weaknesses of the Nigerian legal system. On one hand, the conviction and sentencing of the robbers demonstrates the ability of the system to deliver justice after a lengthy delay. However, the 6-year gap between the crime and the final judgment highlights a critical issue within Nigerian justice sector: the slow pace of litigation. The protracted nature of the legal proceeding in this case is emblematic of a larger issue in Nigeria: the backlog of cases and the inefficiency of the court system. As the report notes, the trial lasted for 6 years, far longer than many had hoped. This delay caused frustration not only for the victims' families, but also for the public, who demanded swift justice. The slow pace of the trial has been attributed to several factors, including understaffing in the judiciary, a cumbersome legal process, and the frequent adjournment of cases. Such delays in delivering justice have severe consequences as they prolong the suffering of victims and their families, erode public trust in the legal system, and in some cases lead to the loss of key evidence or the death of suspects while in custody, as was the case with one of the offer robbers. The Nigerian legal system's failure to resolve cases in a timely manner also has broader societal implications. It encourages a culture of impunity where criminals believe they can evade justice due to the inefficiency of the system. Furthermore, the drawn-out nature of legal proceedings can deter witnesses from coming forward and weaken the quality of testimonies, thereby jeopardizing the prospect of a fair trial. Despite the delays, the prosecution's success in securing a conviction in this case underscores the importance of thorough legal work and the presentation of irrefutable evidence. According to the report, the prosecution presented a compelling case that proved the guilty of the robbers beyond a reasonable doubt. This demonstrates the capacity of the legal system to hold individuals accountable when sufficient resources and attention are devoted to a case. The convictions of the offer robbers was based on solid evidence, including eyewitness testimonies and material evidence, which painted a clear picture of their involvement in the crime. One of the central issues raised by the report is the imposition of the death penalty for the convicted robbers. The death penalty remains a contentious issue in Nigeria and around the world, with strong arguments on both sides. In Nigeria, the death penalty is still widely supported, particularly for heinous crimes such as armed robbery and murder. As the report indicates, many Nigerians applauded the death sentence handed down to the offer robbers. This support stems from a desire for retribution and a belief that capital punishment serves as a deterrent to violent crime. In a country plagued by high levels of crime and insecurity, the death penalty is often seen as a necessary tool for maintaining law and order. For many Nigerians, the offer bank robbery was an unforgivable crime that warranted the highest possible punishment. The fact that the robbers showed no regard for human life, killing both civilians and police officers in cold blood, made the death penalty seem like an appropriate response. Moreover, there is a belief that the death penalty can provide closure for the families of the victims who may feel that justice has been served. However, the use of death penalty in Nigeria has been criticized by human rights organizations and legal experts, who argue that it is an inhuman and ineffective form of punishment. Critics contend that the death penalty does not deter crime and that it is often applied in an arbitrary and discriminatory manner. In Nigeria, concerns have been raised about the fairness of trial and the risk of wrongful convictions, particularly in a legal system that is prone to corruption and incompetence. The families of the victims have endured immense suffering as a result of the robbery. Many of the victims were breadwinners, and their deaths have left their families in financial and emotional distress. The psychological trauma of losing a loved one in such a violent manner cannot be overstated, and the long delay in delivering justice only exacerbated the pain. The death sentence for the robbers may provide some measure of closure for the families, but it cannot undo the harm that has been done. Moreover, the protracted nature of the trial may have prolonged the grieving process for the families, as they were forced to relive the traumatic event of that day through years of court proceedings. The Offa robbery also had a broader impact on Nigerian society, highlighting the pervasive problem of violent crime and the inadequacy of the country's security forces. The fact that the robbers were able to carry out such a large-scale attack with relative ease underscores weaknesses in the Nigerian's law enforcement and security infrastructure. It raises questions about the effectiveness of the police in preventing and responding to crime, as well as the government's ability to protect its citizens. The robbery also contributed to a growing sense of fear and insecurity among Nigerians. Violent crime, particularly armed robbery and kidnapping, has become a major concern for many Nigerians, and the Offa robbery serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that ordinary citizens face on a daily basis. One of the key takeaways from the Offa robbery case is the urgent need for reform in Nigerian judicial and law enforcement system. The delays in the trial process and the apparent inability of the police to prevent the robbery in the first place point to a systemic issue that needs to be addressed. As noted earlier, the slow pace of the trial was a source of frustration for many Nigerians. The backlog of cases in Nigerian court is a major problem that undermines public confidence in the legal system and delays the delivery of justice. To address this issue, there have been calls from the introduction of measures to expedite the trial process, such as the establishment of special courts for serious crimes and the use of alternative dispute resolution mechanism for less serious cases. There is also a need for greater investment in the judiciary to ensure that courts are adequately staffed and resourced. Many Nigerian courts operate with limited personnel and outdated infrastructure, which contributes to delays in the trial process. By investing in the judiciary and implementing reforms to streamline legal procedures, the government can help to ensure that justice is delivered more efficiently and effectively. The Offa robbery also highlighted the need for police reform in Nigeria. The failure of the police to prevent the robbery and the death of 9 police officers during the attack underscores the weaknesses in Nigeria's law enforcement apparatus. The Nigerian police force has long been criticized for its lack of professionalism, inadequate training, and poor equipment, all of which contribute to its inability to effectively combat crime. In the aftermath of the Offa robbery, there has been renewed calls for police reform, including better training for officers, improved equipment and resources, and greater accountability for police misconduct. Many Nigerians believe that the police force needs to be overhauled to address the root causes of crime and to restore public trust in law enforcement. Public opinion plays a significant role in shaping the narrative around the Offa robbery case. From the moment the robbery occurred, there was widespread outrage and a demand for justice. The media coverage of the case kept it in the public eyes, and the pressure on the judiciary to deliver a harsh punishment was palpable. As the report indicates, many Nigerians applauded the death sentence handed down to the robbers. This reaction reflect the deep sense of anger and frustration that many people felt in the wake of the robbery. For many, the death penalty was seen as the only appropriate punishment for such a heinous crime, and the conviction of the robbers was viewed as a victory for justice. However, public opinion can be a double-edged sword. While it can help to ensure that justice is delivered in high-profile cases, it can also lead to a rush to judgment or the imposition of overly harsh sentences. In a legal system that is already prone to corruption and political interference, there is a risk that public pressure could influence judicial decisions in ways that undermines fairness and impartiality of the legal process. The Offa bank robbery and the subsequent trial of the robbers offer important lessons for Nigeria's criminal justice system. While the conviction and sentencing of the robbers demonstrate the ability of the legal system to deliver justice, the protracted nature of the trial highlights the need for urgent reform. The case also raises important ethical questions about the use of death penalty and the role of public opinion in shaping judicial decisions. At the same time, the Offa robbery underscores the importance of addressing the root causes of violent crime in Nigeria, including the weaknesses in the country's law enforcement apparatus and the easy access to illegal firearms. By addressing these issues and implementing reforms to improve the efficiency of the judiciary and the professionalism of the police force, Nigeria can help to ensure that justice is delivered more swiftly and effectively in the future. The Offa robbery serves as a reminder of the devastating impact of violent crime on communities and the need for continued efforts to protect citizens and restore public trust in the criminal justice system. This is the end of our news update. I'll see you again in my next video.